Hey, what's going on guys? I'm Cameron and we're gonna be leaving Australia at the end of July for 1 year of travel, well, 11 months. We have no idea how it's gonna go, how it's gonna work out exactly, but we're doing it anyway. For the longest time, I've wanted to know what it's like and I want to experience what it's like working and living in different countries, whether that be 1 month, 2 months at a time. I have moved overseas back when I was 22 years old. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, so I thought I could buy myself some more time if I just went out and experienced the world. So I moved to London for 2 years and honestly, it was the most incredible time of my life. And when I look back, those years really stand out. I managed to meet new people, created a new family amongst the people I worked with, and those experiences have really opened my eyes to what you can do in this world and just how many beautiful places are out there. That's where I met Dilly, who is now my fiance, and we've been together for almost 10 years. Travel as a whole in my life has really shaped me and it's a huge part of who I am. After all our travels, Dilly then moved here to Australia and then we lived here for some time. I ended up going back to the supermarket where I worked. And then Dilly came here on a student visa and she was doing travel and tourism. Time went by and those years were kind of a blur. However, in 2019, we decided to pack up and try YouTube with no experience, no nothing. And we just went out and we tried to make YouTube work and see if we could start earning a living online. Anyway, we did that for a year and then COVID happened and I came back to Australia. We got separated. There's this whole thing. You can hear my story on another video. But we spent the entire COVID period about 16 months apart trying to get Dilly back in Australia. When she finally did get back here, we decided to relocate our lives. We moved here to the Gold Coast, Australia, and life has been pretty sweet. I've learned photography and videography over the years, and so managed to get a job as a content creator, which has been great because I've managed to up-level my skills in marketing and in content creation. But I've always had this want and this feeling that I've wanted to go and experience what it's like to be immersed in different cultures, whether that's through Southeast Asia, Europe, whatever, to have that experience because I see it online and I don't want to live a life full of regret. And Dilly and I were getting at that stage in our lives where we're starting to talk about kids. And I do want to have this experience before we have kids. This time around, I've got my head on a little bit better. I already know content creation, I know marketing. I want to up-level my YouTube and I want to just be able to share my story and inspire anyone else who is sitting on the fence about whether or not you want to go travel or move overseas. But if you've been sitting on the fence for a while thinking, should I do this? Should I not do this? You know, I've got a really good job where you are. Do I want to risk everything and just try and make this dream possible? You know, is it worth it? I have been battling with this mindset for so many years and I've just come to the stage in my life where I'm so uncomfortable with sitting with this thought. Don't get me wrong, my life here in the Gold Coast is pretty great. I have a great job, we live in a great apartment, we're right near the beach. It sounds amazing, but at the same time, the last 3 years are a blur and there hasn't been many standout memories. And when I think about the last 10 years of my life, there are only 3 that stand out. And there was those 2 years that I lived in London and that 1 year of travel that we did. And so I'm like, I can't continue living life like this. So I want to make the most of it and I got to make it happen now. So here's the basic idea of what our 11 months is going to look like. We are planning to leave at the end of July. That's around my birthday. And then we'll probably leave the actual country 1st of August. And we will be heading to Lombok, Indonesia first. We're going to stay there for about a month and then we're going to move on to either Malaysia or China. There's a place called Chongqing in China. It's a massive city, different levels. I'll probably want to make another video about that. Or we'll stay in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia for a month. And then we'll head over to Spain where Dilly's parents are and we'll be able to have accommodation there for 1 month. After that, do 1 month in the UK and then back to Spain for another 2 months. And in that time, I'll be able to do little trips around Europe and all that. Anyway, that's at least the first chunk of what our travel year will look like. Now, the budget. How much is all this going to cost? How much can we save up that will allow us to travel for this long? We've talked it over and we've figured out roughly how much things will cost, what our expenses will be, including flights, accommodation, travel insurance, all of the big things, right? And then we've also allowed how much we will be able to spend per week. We've come to the number of 40,000 Australian dollars. We've already looked at flights like Skyscanner to get a rough estimate of what our flights will actually be. And believe it or not, in Southeast Asia, when you're traveling between countries, it's quite cheap. So we've looked at how much it's going to be to get from Indonesia to Malaysia or Thailand to Vietnam. And there are prices around like $70. So we know that we're going to be saving a lot of money there. We've created an entire budgeting template. We've created it so we are able to tweak that. So anything that changes along the way, it'll change our total expenses at the bottom. I'm going to make a separate video about that purely, and I'll probably end up be giving that template away for free in case anyone else wants to use that and wants to tweak it themselves to suit their travel needs and to suit their travel budget. But this video, I'm going to keep it more general and just more to show you an idea of what you can potentially do as well. Also, I want to add that in no way this is going to be a luxury trip. However, with that said, in places like Malaysia, in places like Vietnam and Chongqing, we've looked at the accommodation, and for what you pay, you can actually really live quite well. You can get a small 1-2 bedroom apartment in Vietnam, at least in Da Nang, for example, for like 1,000 Australian dollars for a month. Why are we choosing to go now? Basically, this comes down to, if we don't do this now, when will we ever? We've talked about it for so long. I've talked about it for so long, and it's always just been talk, and things come up in life, and we needed to really make this a priority. And I mentioned it at the start of this video that we are talking about having kids, and so we want to be able to experience this without that added responsibility. Something that we can really experience for ourselves and not have any obligations anywhere else. Now, I want to address the fear and uncertainty of what we're doing. Whilst that I do say that we are saving $40,000 to go on this trip, we want to keep it purely that. We want that to be our budget. However, I do have a little bit of peace of mind when it comes to work. I've talked to them and I will be acting as a freelancer for them around 3 days, 4 days, depending on the time of year for them per week. And it'll be much more flexible. So I'll be able to figure out my working times, you know, smash everything out in the week, and maybe I can spread it out to ensure that I am soaking up all the travel that I can. Not only will I be doing that, is I'll be doing this. I'll be making YouTube videos, Instagram, posting short form content. I'll be creating my newsletter where I will be talking about my experiences and helping anyone else out there with tools and resources and just giving people an insight of what this is like. I'm also currently in the middle of making my UGC content creator portfolio, where I will be looking for work and potentially being able to work with other brands and creating some social media for them. It is both scary and exciting at the same time, and for the longest time, I know that if they both scare and excite you, it's something worth doing, because that only allows you to grow even more into your potential. Along all this, with the newsletter and everything, I will be figuring out monetization along the way. So I'll be figuring out how to be working with different brands, sponsorships. All this is going to be very new to me, as I've never done this for myself, like with the knowledge that I have now. I haven't gotten this far, let's call it. So with that said, anyone else that wants to know as well, like maybe you can follow along with me and we can kind of keep each other accountable, make mistakes together and grow together. And that's basically what I want this community to be about, is that we just help one another to live this lifestyle and to help each other up towards our dreams. So I guess the bigger message with this video is that I want people to take action. I want people to just start doing things. You know, you might not know what you're doing, but as long as you are moving, as long as you are just taking small little steps towards your goals, you're going to figure it out along the way. You'll constantly keep getting into moments where you just have no clarity. So it's important to sit down with a sheet of paper, a notebook, whatever, and write down, get these thoughts out and write down exactly what you want. Like, I sure as hell don't have everything figured out, but waiting for the perfect time means that it may not come at all. We're just gonna go for it. If you've been waiting for a sign to do something as well, maybe this is it. With all that said, I'm Cameron. If you want to follow along and keep up to date with everything that's happening, feel free to do so. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.